Welcome everyone to session 4 of the Eugene Review Panel. Very nice to have you here on a Tuesday evening. Yeah, thanks for being here. Look forward to another 2.5 hours with you all. I'm going to get straight down to some notes from last time, and then straight into what's happening this time. So just first to remind sort of us all of where we are. Let me go back to this so I can pull up sort of the where we are screen. So we're through sessions 1 through 3. We heard some background experts. You talked somewhat about panelists, your experiences with housing. Do more of that in the future. That's not done or anything. Sessions 4 through 6 here are when you get to call your own stakeholders or experts, any outside speakers that you'd like to hear from in the next 3 sessions, and continue to check in with your task committees and small groups that are sort of debriefing those presenters. So, so similar to what we've been through before, but maybe somewhat of a different kind of experts. We'll see, or presenters, I should say. Let me go back to my notes here. So a couple things I wanted to mention today. So first of all, we on Saturday we sort of noticed some stuff in chat during the presenters speaking. I just wanted to remind everybody to please not use chat as much as possible, especially in the large group settings, because it sort of is like passing notes. If we were in person, it doesn't feel very transparent. We were thinking about, well, should we turn it off or whatever, but also there's a lot of questions there. I'd take your views on that if you have strong views about that. But we haven't turned it off. I'm just sort of making a request that it can be somewhat distracting, or people just have really different levels of access to chat, and folks who are watching on the live stream don't have access to it, so it's not public in those kind of public settings. And also, we'd love to hear your voice if you have a question and to ask. I wanted to make a note. There were a number of folks who were late or absent on Saturday. I know there's a little bit confusion. I'm not sure maybe about the time. It was a different start time than on the Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I know that is a bit confusing. So just as a reminder, Tuesdays and Thursdays we're here 6 to 8:30, and then Saturdays, this coming Saturday, for example, start at 9:30 on the dot. Please do be there. You had told Kelly at one point that you could make all the dates, so please do that. And if you can't if there's some emergency that comes up, we will, as Kelly's done today, connect you with other folks in the group that you would have been in that day to get some sort of an update, so sort of fill in for what happened. So if you haven't responded to her email about that, please do that. But that said, everyone's expected to be here for all the times on all the days. That's why you're getting paid, so please be here. I wanted to note one other logistical thing. There are, we sent out that menu of presenters last week on Saturday. And I think almost everybody's gotten it. We checked the tracking numbers just a little while ago. And at the time, this was a few hours ago, I think all but 6 of you had gotten it. So if you haven't gotten it, all the rest of them were meant to arrive like this evening. So take a quick dash out with your computer to your front porch and see if anything's arrived there. They probably won't knock on your door. They'll just leave it there because didn't need a signature. If you haven't received it, that's okay. You'll still be able to do everything tonight. You'll just have to look at the screen instead of a nice piece of paper. All right. Right. I want to show you something before we start. The first thing we're going to do today is some more sort of dive into what other presenters you want to hear from. So this will happen not the same way that it did last time, but starting out in small groups, looking for the gaps that might exist. Thinking about who's spoken to you already, what information you've received, and what information you might want to receive in the future, or sort of types of information, I should say, that may be missing. So I want to share a screen here. If you have received the mailing, please take it out now. And your small group moderators can pull this up as well. But this is how the votes shook out. And the thing in particular that I want to show you here is the 5 that came to the top. As you remember, we did one small group and then whittled it down again to another small group, to another small group. And the final small group selection out of 5, then 2, then 1 were the ones in pink. So those folks have already been called. They're already, one of them's going to be here tonight. But the folks in blue, those 5 folks in blue are sort of the runners up. So yeah, those may be folks to look at because they've already passed through a couple of small groups. So they've already been vetted a little bit in the process, and maybe folks that you want to renominate today. Also the folks in green, less so, but there was one group on Saturday that thought that those were important people. So those are particular folks to look at. I want to mention though, in this next process, you have free reign to choose from anybody on the menu, or if there's somebody who's not on the menu. And I know there was at least one person on Saturday who was like, hey, there's somebody that didn't make it on here, or there's a type of person that didn't make it on that I'd really love to see called. That is something to bring up in your small group. You can nominate anybody from off that menu or beyond if you feel like you need to. But that's just to give you a guide. And this page that I'm showing here, even more of a guide if you want to see, okay, how did we narrow it down? You want some ideas of folks that maybe had already been sort of prioritized on Saturday. All right, small group moderators can note how that process is going to work, but basically here's how it's going to work. Is you're going to go into small groups, 5 new random small groups, very exciting, with new faces, and sit for a few minutes, just some silent work time to think about, what is missing. And I'll say more about that in just a second. And then as a group, work together to nominate 3 people or type of person to bring back to the large group. So you'll be working together to nominate 3. And these don't need to be consensus choices across the whole small group. This is meant to represent, but I should say it's meant to represent each individual in the small group. So this is, it's important. It's really important, especially at this stage in the process, to make sure that any sort of minority voices are being heard. And one way to do that is to make sure that everybody in each small group feels like they've got at least one person among those three nominees who they feel good about. And hopefully you can collaborate and find ones that, there's more than 3 people in your small group, so you'll have to work together to come down to 3 that represent a diversity of views. And let me say something about that. So small group moderators can pull this back up. I'm going to stop the screen share for just a moment. Let me say something about that. Go back to my notes here, though. So the first folks who presented to the panel were intended to be background experts on the topic. We know that some of them may have presented some opinions on the topic as well, but that wasn't the mission. Now, though, you're not restricted in any way. If you feel like you need more technical info, that's fine. If you feel like you need different kinds of viewpoints, that's fine. You're welcome to call any kinds of folks. Your job at this point is to both seek information you need and also a diversity of viewpoints you need. And I wanted to say something else about that. So you, the panel, you're a representative snapshot of the city of Eugene. We're not the organizers nor anybody else involved in the process. You're the group with the most legitimacy in the eyes of the public. You're the city in one room, as we say sometimes. So sure, there have been folks selected, there's been other information, but you have the main role here. By the time we're done, you will have picked most of the folks who will have presented to you. So that also means that with great power comes great responsibility. You have the responsibility to make sure that the folks who are presenting to you, the panel, are as reflective of the diversity of thought and background in Eugene as you are. So this is your chance. If you have seen something missing, folks who might represent certain groups or opinions or ways of looking at the issue that haven't had a place at the table so far, this is your chance to hear a little bit more from them. And I want to encourage you to look out for folks that you agree with, but also folks that you may disagree with, folks that are like you and folks who aren't like you. It's vital to the legitimacy of the panel and your future work that all different kinds of people and views are represented in this space. So that's what I wanted to say. And with that, let's head into small groups. Moderators, I'll give you an updated time in just a moment.